You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander, Skullion, and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. This is episode 102, and we're recording this on the 26th of May. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and joined with me is my animal-loving friend, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Oh yeah, so funny you brought that up, as my wife called me Snow White earlier, because I was in the backyard and I found a bird in a little, I already keep a growed-up area of my yard for some rabbits to hang out in, because we do have some hawks around here, and I'm one of the dog-free yards, so they tend to hang out here. But I did see a bird, I believe it's a female cardinal, and was just kind of hanging out all day, and I went out and got super close to it, and I think it's hurt. I think it has a hurt wing, so I tried to put some seed and some water and some berries and some crap like that out near it. And then one of the rabbits was actually in the bush at the same time. I took a picture and just realized, like, wow, the bunny's there too. So, yeah, I try to keep in touch with all the animals and, keep the nature going as much as I can. But hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well on this Friday evening. It's a odd day for us.
Yeah, it is. Usually we record like on Sundays or Tuesdays, but we have a really fun episode. We are actually joined with a very special guest, our good friend Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Not much. How's it going, everybody?
Doing good. And, Ryan, I thought, we'd start the show kind of like just, a little introduction of yourself, because I know some people know you from the Xsgaming Podcast group page. That you guys that are listening can join on facebook.com/group/Xsgaming Podcast. But, you and I met on Facebook, and we just, really, really hit it off. Or I view us as, really, really good friends. But tell us a little bit about you. I mean, I know you've had a YouTube channel and whatnot. Tell us some of your favorite games or whatnot. I'm going to just throw the mic at you.
All right, well, yeah, I had a YouTube channel for a while. It's still there, 16-Bitallica. It's a fusion of two things that I really like, 16-bit gaming and Metallica. Awesome. And we do gaming videos with it's mostly just gameplay with commentary. Not good gameplay by any means. It's mostly about the commentary. But my favorite kind of games are tactical games. So, like Final Fantasy Tactics, stuff like that. Favorite kind of games ever. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I think, your favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy Tactics, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember we were talking about that. And then, I mean, it's funny, when Final Fantasy Tactics first came out, I've never really played, tactical RPGs. And, this is when Final Fantasy VII had came out, and it was really, really popular. My friends were starting to get into JRPGs. I had already gotten into them myself, but one of my friends got Final Fantasy Tactics, and he was like, man, I got this Final Fantasy game, but it plays really weird. It doesn't play anything like 7. I'm like, well, how's it play? He's like, it plays like a game of chess. And I was like chess? Okay. And I remember I borrowed it from him, and I loved it. I ended up actually trading a game. I had Project Horned Owl on the PlayStation 1. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was kind of a light gun game, on rails for the PlayStation.
I've never heard of that. It sounds awesome, though.
Yeah, it was interesting, because it was kind of like I think it was like a futuristic cop kind of game or something like that, if my memory serves well. But yeah, we traded that, and I started playing it, and I remember, unlocking Cloud and stuff like that. So Ryan, what is it about the technical RPG element that attracts you to this genre? Because I mean, a lot of people love JRPGs. Some people like technical, some people don't. What is it that makes you really enjoy it?
Usually the in-depth class systems and stuff really do it for me, and leveling up, just like in any RPG, really, it just, I don't know, just has something to it that I really love. Yeah, and add Final Fantasy to it, and for me, that's gold.
Sometimes that theme, that was definitely a theme, like you mentioned, Xander, Final Fantasy VII being out, and everybody played that around that time. Earlier, I started with Final Fantasy 1. I mentioned before I got so sick of hearing about it in Nintendo Power. I was like, I'm going to play this stupid game. And I went, and it's like, I really loved it. And I really got hooked on Final Fantasy up to that time, and Tactics came out, and it was so different. But I think for so many of us that already had that love for the genre, that name of Final Fantasy, this was a game we all gave a chance to that maybe we wouldn't have normally played if it was something else. And I think that just kind of opened up so many people, to that style. Because I know me and my friends, a lot of us got into that. The Ogre Battle game was another kind of big one around that time that we'd gotten into. And it was also one of the first experiences of, being a bit younger and having those games that definitely got you a little bit more trade-in value than some of the normal ones. Even early on, back in the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the RPG games on the older systems started picking up a lot of, pretty decent value compared to other ones around that time. That was a trend that just kind of kept going. RPGs and tactical games have always been kind of sought after in a sense.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Sometimes a theme is what kind of gets you to play a genre. A great example for me would be Dragon Quest Builders. I could never get into Minecraft. It's not that I don't like Minecraft. I don't hate the series. If someone...
Some of us are too old for it. That's all it is.
But it's one of those things. I appreciate it. I see some of the stuff that people do on it, and I'm just like, wow. And I'm like, man, that's a really cool game. But I just couldn't get into it. So I got Dragon Quest Builders, and it has that whole Dragon Quest theme, and I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I love this game, and I'm looking. I think they've been rumoring that there's going to be a Dragon Quest Builders 2. If they do, I'll definitely get that day one.
I still need to get the first one.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I think what I liked about it was, unlike Minecraft, it has a little bit more of a story to it. Now, the quests and stuff like that are very much fetch quests and stuff like that, but I think that's what I liked about it, was I felt like there was a little bit more going on than just, choose your own adventure, like build whatever you want to build. So that was the thing I really liked about it. Now, a little bit of the gaming news, because there is some little bit of gaming news that's been going on. How about this? I am stoked about this new series on Netflix. I am more stoked about it than Star Wars or anything Marvel, and that is finally we saw the teaser for the Castlevania cartoon series for Netflix. Have you guys watched that yet?
Yes.
What did you think about it, Ryan?
I think it looks great, and as far as I can tell, it's based off of Castlevania 3, which is by far my favorite Castlevania game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this.
Did you get to see it, James?
Yes, I definitely did. I saw a little bit that very morning when it first came out, and I went on and I tried to go to one site that had a list of the trailer, but it wouldn't load up, so I went on to YouTube and definitely, found it on there. Like many things, you can always find it. And I knew, it was about everything I had hoped for. We've heard about this for a while. There was rumors, as many remember long ago, about a live-action Castlevania that never really came to fruition. A lot of it, from everything I heard, had to do with Igarashi, not wanting, he wanted it to be really good. And I don't know if there was too much interference. I don't know the full-on story, but I had always thought anime would be the way to go. I was like, you can't lose, because I just had the feeling if you did the Castlevania live action, it's gonna suck. Like, I'm sorry, it wasn't gonna be good. It might have been okay, but there's just no way it could have lived up to what all the Castlevania fans would really want something like that to be. And with animation, it opens up so many doors. You can truly do anything without having to have bad CGI or anything like that. I thought the art style, was really great. That little bit they showed us, it really just kind of left you wanting more.
Yeah.
But you knew that what was there is going to be awesome, and it left you wanting more in a good way. It's like, man, this is going to be great. And with Netflix, you're going to get all the episodes at once. I'm sure we'll all be sitting there watching every single one in a row. I'll make my wife watch it. I'm sure she's going to like it. You know, there's no way that, you know, I would bet, you know, one of my toes that this thing is going to be awesome. You know, I will cut off a toe if this thing sucks.
Yeah. I'll back you up on that. I'll sacrifice a toe for you.
Yeah, we're all cutting off toes here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Ryan. I think it does take place during the Castlevania 3 period, just because, you know, it had Alucard, and I can't remember the guy's name, but it even showed like the little pirate dude and
Grant.
Yeah, they showed Grant and, you know, the witch lady Berlandez.
So did you all take it as the blonde guy rising out of the coffin? Was that Alucard?
I think so.
Because I watched it a couple times, and at first I was like, the blonde dude's Dracula, but then the very last shot, it shows a back shot, you know, with the collar up, and I'm like, wait, that's Dracula. He doesn't have blonde hair. And, you know, cause I watched the thing like 2 or 3 times, and I'd rewind little parts. I mean, yeah, Grant, and was it? Yeah, I'm with you. I can't fully remember the name.
I think her name was Belendez. It was something Belendez.
Belmades. Yeah. That's it. Sona. That's horrible. We're such Castlevania fans, but we can't remember the name.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be, and I even think it might be like maybe a little bit after Castlevania 3, if I'm not mistaken, because he was like, you know, I'm the one who defeated Dracula, and you know, Trevor was actually the first Belmont in the whole Igarashi like mythology. Like when he started rebooting the story. Trevor was the first Belmont who defeated Dracula. And so I'm thinking like, oh man, are we going to get some Curse of Darkness in this? Are we going to have some Hector, you know, the Devil Forge Master? Are we going to have some of this, you know, and have like the innocent devils? And I think it's going to be really cool. And you're right, James. It does make more sense as an animated show. I think if they were to make it live action, it would like, either it would look really, really good if it was a good budget, but if it wasn't a good budget, it would look really bad. And you always have that moment that if it was live action, they would try to like make it kind of like modern in cinematography kind of way, being like, oh, let's add some like let's add a dubstep whip mode or something, you know.
Yeah, sometimes maybe it's a bit easier to cop out. And you know, like I said, when you're looking at budget, you're looking at things like setting. Like, is it easier to have a giant castle, or, you know, do we have it happen in a modern day skyscraper? You know, definitely. But like I said, the doors are so open with animation style that, you know, I love the look of Belmont. You always got to wonder like how they're going to end up looking, and it's like, you know, I couldn't imagine it like any better. And I mean, just man, and they said, you know, originally it was supposed to come out a bit later, and it's actually coming out a little bit. It was July, maybe it's July 7th, something around like that. It's sometime in July, and like I said, that's just great. I love the fact with all the episodes at once, you know, so it's up to you if you want to stretch it out or you just want to take it all in at once. It leaves it open, and I mean, it's going to be amazing. And I've already heard, it seems, about plans of making another one, you know, a follow-up like season to it. So, you know, I'm just like nothing but excited about that. You know, so many times as a kid growing up in the summer, that's when everything's on repeat. You know, nothing new happens, and when you have all these, you know, new ways of television like Netflix, Hulu with these original series, whether it's HBO, you know, you've got good options no matter what time of year it is. You know, what it would be like to be a kid nowadays, man. They got it all so easy.
I know, it's insane. I think about, you know, in the summertime and those days of like it being like super hot and just wanting to stay inside and play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the Castlevania series. Also, the Nintendo Switch it's been doing really well. It's been doing really well. It's on the path of selling about as much as the Wii when it first came out, around that time when the Wii was like a month old. And they dropped a big bombshell that the Switch is going to have Monster Hunter XX, and it's actually risen Nintendo stock into all-time high right now. It's crazy, and a lot of people are like excited about it. I'm personally never played any of the Monster Hunter games. Ryan, have you played any of them?
I have one for Wii U, and I'm kind of ashamed to say it's just kind of sat there on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Ultimate 3 Ultimate or something like that, but I haven't actually played it. So I'm becoming that guy who's buying games and not playing them. The guy that I always said, like, how could you do that? And
It happens.
I'm that guy.
It happens more than you
It happens so easily.
Because you see a game, you're like, oh, it's on sale, I'm going to pick it up, and then like you end up wanting to play it, but then you end up playing something else. I mean, that's one of my problems with The Witcher 3. I was actually a guest on My Backlog Battle. I was a guest last week, and that episode's going to be released sometime in June. And we were talking about podcasting, we were talking about games. It was a fantastic episode. And when we were done and we were talking about games, we started talking about they started talking about The Witcher 3, and I had never played it. And they gushed about it so much that it sold me. I'm like, man, I need to go out and get this. So I bought a Wii Classic controller, and the Classic controller that I bought from GameStop, like one of the shoulder buttons was kind of sticky. I tried cleaning it, and it just wasn't working right. And it was $20, so I took it back to GameStop, and I got my money back, but I ended up just getting The Witcher 3. I got $20 off using that controller credit. So I haven't even played it. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's shrink wrapped. I've been playing Final Fantasy 15. I can't imagine playing Witcher 3 and Final Fantasy 15 at the same time. That's just insane.
Probably just be a bit too much overwhelming.
It'd be
I thought
overwhelming.
Yeah.
The Witcher. I've always heard many good things about that, and I've thought about it. One of my friends had mentioned about a sale they were having on Amazon, and by the time I went to it, I guess maybe it had ended. But I was going to get it at that price. I want to say it was something like $10. It was like super cheap. But I just kind of think that might be one of those games like Skyrim that might just kind of overwhelm me from the start. I get hit with like it's just too much stuff going on. But I mean, it's one of those I've really heard nothing but good things about. I mean, Monster Hunter. I did play one of those for a little bit. I think I had one on PSP. And I know that was one of the big, series always in Japan. It's huge. They've had systems come out based on it. I know it was going on the PSP there for a long time. And it definitely seems like a really cool game, one that kind of takes a little bit of getting used to. You can't just really like jump in and, knock it out. It kind of takes a little bit of time to figure it out. A little bit more strategy than some, tracking down the proper monster and everything. But, I'm sure that's going to do nothing. But like you mentioned, it's already, boosting up stock on Nintendo. I've heard the Switch in general has helped Best Buy. Their sales go up, probably in stores because so many stores start carrying, just less and less physical items. But Best Buy is still a store you can go to and get one of those systems. It's one of the ones I hear. It's like, oh yeah, check with Best Buy. So they're picking up a lot of sales from that. So it's just really good to see the system, in a whole doing good and helping out stores and everything. It's cool to see happen.
It's interesting you brought that up. It's interesting that you brought up Best Buy, and it just reminded me of another topic that I was going to talk about. And I wanted your input on this, Ryan, that apparently Nintendo's doing a little experiment. And I remember I posted an article on Facebook as a post, and I could tell a lot of people didn't actually read the article. They just read the headline. They're like, what the hell is this shit, But what it started out as was Nintendo's got this little experiment in Japan where they're selling this is with Splatoon 2. They're selling a digital copy, physical copy, and they have a physical box digital code copy. Now, this isn't anything new. Capcom did this when DuckTales, when it first came out. It was originally just a digital only, and then they came out with a copy that had a case, but it had a code, and it came with a little DuckTales pin, so you didn't get the physical game. I know Minecraft Stories, the Telltale game, just comes with a digital code. But this is something they're kind of trying out. And Ryan, I got to ask you, is this... what do you think about this? Like, just buying a case with the digital code?
I think it's a waste of plastic. I honestly don't know what the point is of getting a case. I have no problem with digital downloads, but why sell me a plastic case? You know, if I don't have a physical game to go in there, it just seems kind of pointless.
It's one of those cases I look at, like, sometimes maybe somebody might just want to have the case on the shelf. As far as, you know, the instance, I don't know if the price compared to the digital, I imagine some people too might just want to go in and maybe they don't want to, you know, use their credit card online or, you know, have one to use, and they can go to the store. And it'd be in the sense, if the price is the same, you know, with just buying like a PSN card, I don't know what the difference is on it. But, you know, I could see somebody, you know, going that way. And I said, if it's the same price, you know, if it's more, you know, maybe just go for the PSN card. But it is something you see more and more. It's, you know, a bit of an oddity, just buying an empty case. At least, you know, with the DuckTales came with the pen. I thought that was a cool little bonus. But yeah, it's interesting to, you know, maybe they're trying to just satisfy both ends. You know, a lot of times when people want physical, they mean they really want the disc just in case something happens to their system, or, you know, they just want a means to always be able to play that. And it's just it's an odd little thing, you know, but it seems to be a bit of a trend.
I don't know. It's almost like Nintendo Japan took like people's statements like too literally, because I know, like, I think you guys can agree that whenever someone talks about physical copies, right, I want that copy in my hand and I want to put it on my shelf, and Nintendo's like, okay, we can give you the case. I think that's kind of like what happened there, because they even mentioned that they're like, you know, a lot of people they like to have the game on the shelf, you know, and I'm just like, that's not really what they meant.
Just pretend. I can actually see Miyamoto making the rainbow motion with his hands and saying "imagination."
But yeah, I mean, I was just like, that's silly. I mean, I love digital. I know if I had a choice, I would always get physical, but digital can be very convenient. Sometimes it can cost less. You know, it's also less space. You know, you don't have as much. You don't have to worry about trying to get all your games in order and stuff like that. I mean, that's cool. The only thing I don't like about digital is, you know, if they close the servers or something happens, there's a chance that you could lose that game. Like, you're pretty much paying for a license to play that game, not an actual possession, where physical is a little different. But yeah, just the case. That's sad. Imagine, you know, like, if something was to happen years later and, like, the Switch, like, shut down their servers and everyone lost their games, but we were all stuck with these Nintendo Switch cases. Like, they turn into, like, booster cards or something, you know? It's so weird.
Currency.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. But I think what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about Gameinformers Top 100 RPGs. We're not going to go through all 100 RPGs, but I definitely had some opinions after reading that magazine that I want to talk about, and you know, get Ryan's input, get James's input. I know, James, you don't play a whole lot of RPGs, but I think some of these answers will very much surprise you. And after that, we're going to be talking a little bit to Ryan about collecting and stuff like that, games we've been playing recently. So sit back, relax, guys, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys, and that was some Street Fighter 2. That was actually from the new Ultra Street Fighter, the Final Challengers, released today on the Nintendo Switch while we're recording. And I'll be talking about that because that's a game I've been playing recently, like a couple hours ago. But, the newest issue of Game Informer magazine, Game Informer is probably like, I wouldn't say it's the only gaming magazine out there, but it's probably one of the only magazines that we have that's like so mainstream, and a lot of that's because it is owned by GameStop. GameStop uses, of course, they use their Game Informer with their Power Up rewards card. You get a yearly subscription, and I have to be honest, I don't really read a whole lot of them because by the time I get a Game Informer, we already know what's going on in the news with social media, with Kotaku and Polygon and GameSpot. We already know what's going on, or maybe if you listen to Xsgaming podcast. But one of the issues they came out with is they were talking about their top 100 best RPGs of all time. Now, they weren't just talking about JRPGs, but just RPGs as a genre. And this is one of the reasons why I was really happy to get you on the show, Ryan, is because you were actually in an issue of Game Informer. How about you tell the listeners about that?
I had a top 5 games of all time in the November 2004 issue of Game Informer. And it was all RPGs and tactical games. Final Fantasy Tactics being number 1. Which I wanted to mention earlier, too. The first Tactics game I ever played was Vandal Hearts.
Oh, nice.
Have you guys played that at all?
I haven't.
Nah, I haven't either. I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Same here. I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
And I'd never played a tactics game in my life. I bought this game, spent $50 on it or whatever. And I absolutely hated it. I'm like, I can't even move my character. This is stupid. And then just kind of had the realization of, well, I spent the money. I'm going to sit down and try it. And then absolutely fell in love with it. And that's where my love for tactical RPGs came.
Isn't that kind of funny how games do that? You'll get a game and you're just like, man, I really don't like this game. And then for some reason you kind of stick with it and it kind of grows on you.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I've had a couple of games do that to me, and yeah, this magazine. First of all, I want to say the cover of the magazine. If you guys are listening, if you got this magazine yourself, you can probably agree the cover is amazing. It kind of makes me think of like the old school Game Fan magazines, where they would it was like not official drawings or official art of the video games, but like they had their own like in-house artists that would do the covers, which was very popular at the time. But Game Fan did it the best. I thought GamePro looked kind of cheap,
amateurish.
Yeah. It looked kind of cheap. I mean, I loved Game Pro. Don't get me wrong, but the covers looked kind of like meh. But like this looked really good. And Game Fan, I still have an issue of Game Fan somewhere that had like Vivi from Final Fantasy IX on the cover, and it looked awesome. But I started reading it, and I know it's all subjective. I know this is not written in stone. This is not the definitive list of top 100 RPGs, but I was really surprised by some of the order. I felt like they just grabbed a bunch of games and they put it through a randomizer, and they were like, okay, well that's it. I mean, some of the stuff they talked about, of course, was like Dragon Quest 3, or should I say Dragon Warrior 3, was like number 99, and I'm like, really? Like that's like number 99? I mean, they had and they had. Oh man, I'm trying to go through some of the stuff like Radiant Stories on the PS2 was like number 88. The game that you just mentioned, Ryan, Vagrant Story, is number 87. It's like number 87 out of 100. Of course, number 1 was Skyrim, which I thought was kind of interesting, and then my tinfoil hat started shining with conspiracy theories, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is a magazine published by GameStop, and, we just recently got the HD remaster of Skyrim, and Skyrim's supposed to be coming out for the Switch. Did they really think that Skyrim's number 1, or are they just trying to boost some sales?
How many of those games on that list can you buy at GameStop? I mean, Skyrim, look, it's great, it is an amazing game. Sometimes though, for me, it falls under that mixture of, to what I consider what is a RPG, it is not. it's got a little bit too much action, and it's kind of open to interpretation lots of times on what you consider. For me, it's more that classical Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy style. I'm not physically running around and hitting things. The Skyrim kind of changes it up a bit. I mean, can you put Symphony of the Night on that list?
Actually, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which surprised me, and that's why I think what they were trying to do is they weren't trying just to focus on like JRPG. They were just trying to go after the RPG in general, because I mean they had some MMOs like EverQuest was like number 22. Every Fallout was on it. Like it was funny. Like anything Bethesda was on the countdown, and it just made me think.
Was Zelda on there by chance? Any of those? Or
Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was number 47. Actually, it's funny because Mass Effect 3 beat Breath of the Wild. I'm like, really? Like I said,
I guess
yeah, it's
really one of those lists,
Yeah.
where it's just open to interpretation of what you consider RPG, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, it's not definitive, and I will say, even though I don't agree that Skyrim is like number one out of top 100 RPGs of all time, Skyrim is a good game. I did enjoy it. The reason why, for me, though, it's not number one, and I'll ask you, Ryan, if you feel the same way, or why, if it's number one, or if it's not number one in your heart, why? To me, it doesn't feel like number one because, take Final Fantasy 3, take Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, take a big handful of these games, and you know what? I've played these games more than once. Skyrim, I put about 200 hours into it. I played all the DLC except for the one like Heartfire or whatever it was called, or Heartwheel, whatever it was, where like you made your own like little house. I was like, this is too Minecraft for me. I'm not playing this. But going back to Minecraft, but I played everything and I enjoyed it. And you know what? I put it down. I haven't picked it up since. So to me, by definition, that's not a number one in my contenders list because I played it and that was it. I had my fix. I had a really long, nice fix. It was like a Thanksgiving dinner. I, waited all day for it to cook. I ate it. I took a nap and I just went on with my day. What about you, Ryan? Like, what? Of course, like your number one, like you said, was Final Fantasy Tactics. But what is Skyrim to you?
I'll agree with you 100%. Actually, I put a ton of hours into that game, but I wouldn't pick it up now and play it again. I kind of feel like I've got all I can get out of it and really don't want to do any more with it. It's the game that came out a week before my son was born. So I just crammed all the hours that I could into that because I knew I wouldn't have any free time for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Skyrim came out. I was actually my band at the time. We were recording our second album, and I remember playing Skyrim like before I would get picked up to go to the studio, and I really enjoyed it. And I mean, like even Skyrim coming out for the Switch. I know some of my friends are telling me, "Oh, you just like any game that comes out for the Switch." You know what? I'm not going to buy Skyrim on the Switch. I think it's an awesome idea for someone who really likes the game. You can play it on the go, anywhere you want. You can play Skyrim. That's awesome. But me personally, I played it and I'm good. Now another Elder Scrolls that they come out with Elder Scrolls like what would this be like? Elder Scrolls like 4,
6.
No, 6. Yeah, if this was Elder Scrolls 6 and I would be all about that because I prefer the Elder Scrolls series more than the Fallout series personally. I like the fantasy wizards and dragons more than steampunk, but yeah, I was kind of surprised about that. Now, Ron,
I did like too though how they threw Dungeons and Dragons at like a 0 on the list for kind of like a start of it all. But for each of y'all, what would you all pick as your top RPG? Is yours still the Vagrant Story, Ryan, or
my favorite RPG? Well, if tactics games are in there.
I'm sorry, Tactics.
Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah.
Final Fantasy Tactics. And Xander, what would be yours?
Final Fantasy 3/6. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick. I'm actually gonna go with Final Fantasy 1. That one's probably gonna be my top one. Maybe not actually the best, but I think it kind of ends up being my favorite and the one that had the most impact, and one that I've actually gone back and will just I've played more than any of the other ones. Like I'll often just sit down and at least get up through like Bick the Pirate and get the boat, and then I might stop. But that's one that's held up for me. I like playing the different little kind of remakes. I'll always pick it up, whether it's on PSP or I seem to have a version of it somewhere, and it's one that I was like, I imagine I might sit down and go through the whole thing again one day, maybe.
I've done that with Dragon Quest VIII, and I've bought that twice on 2 different systems. And I play it at least once a year, actually. Go through the entire thing from start to finish.
Such a good game. What would you agree, Ryan, that would be, if someone was like, hey, I want to get into Dragon Quest, would that be the game you would tell them to play?
Oh, most definitely. I would say start with 8. And you can go Super Saiyan, basically, so why wouldn't you want to play it?
You really can. It was funny. I was like, did my main character just do Kaioken? But yeah, 10. But yeah, I mean the Dragon Quest VIII. It's just, to me, it's the most easiest to pick up. It's because I mean some of the old Dragon Quest games, they're pretty relentless with their difficulty and grind sessions. I mean, you play Dragon Warrior on the original NES, and if you hate random battles, that's not the game for you to play, because you get a random battle every 3 steps. So I was like, yeah, play Dragon Quest VIII, because it's a little bit more modern. It still has that Dragon Quest flavor to it, but it's good for a new person to get into the series. Now, Ryan, I was going to talk to you about this, and I promise listeners, I promise you guys, this isn't going to be a topic we always have, because I know we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, and that was about collecting, because I've actually been selling a lot of my collection, and you've been kind of doing the same thing too, Ryan. I remember you were talking to me on Facebook, and you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling my collection now. What's all your thoughts about selling your collection? Like, are you missing it? Is it something that that you're kind of like, I feel pretty good about it?
I feel pretty good about it, actually. Ever since I got the Raspberry Pi, that's really all I need, and I don't need to get up and switch games out or anything like that, or worry about, is my kid gonna tear them up, whatever, And I can play so many games now that I never got to as a kid, and if I wanted to actually get those actual carts, it would cost me thousands of dollars, and I'm just not going to do that. So yeah, selling it is one of the best things I've ever done. I mean, I have car repairs and bills and a 5-year-old, so yeah, it's a good thing, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I remember I told you when you said you were going to start selling, and I've talked to some other people. I know my friend John, who does the Retro Bro, the Raspberry Pi that you were talking about.
Definitely, retrobrogaming.com. Check him out if you're looking into getting one of these. Like we said before, he's a good friend, and he's a super great dude to do business with, to answer any questions, anything like that. retrobrogaming.com. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he started selling his collection too. Not a whole lot of his collection, but he's selling a good bulk of it. And I told him, I was like, John, when you started selling these games, did you kind of start feeling like a little liberated? He's like,
yes.
Yeah. And it's weird. It is really weird, and he's not the only one. I mean, I talked to one of my friends, Dave. I talked to him, and he was selling his games, and he told me that he felt like the collection was getting to the point where it was like the collection owned him. He didn't own the collection, and when he started selling it, he felt free. Like, would you describe that as well, Ryan? Like, you feel that way?
Oh, sure. It's a relief in a way, and I like money.
Yeah, money.
I really
wish
I didn't, but it's important. So
yeah, it's a good mixture of things. When I first started selling mine to my brother, as I said before, I'd mentioned that earlier on. I said it was kind of just a freeing feeling, and lots of times too, with some of the stuff you're selling, it's nice to know it is going to lots of times to people that are really going to appreciate it. Sometimes too, some of the things Xander have sold, I've got. I got his Neo Geo Pocket Color, and it went to a good place because I don't really collect cartridges as far as for like Nintendo Genesis, but I'm still pretty big into the handhelds because they've kind of become a bit more to me, almost kind of like collecting cards. You know, you can even put them in card collecting books. You know, they're just small. They don't take up as much space. They're fun. Lots of times they're still, for the most part, you know, pretty cheap. You can just go buy some random crap for, you know, $1 or $2. And like, I'll even buy stuff that I might never even play. I bought sports trivia on Game Gear. Why? Because it was $1. And I was like, you know what? I don't even feel bad about buying this. I might actually give it a try. But, you know, handhelds for me are still, they just, they have a little bit more funness to it and a little bit of a cheaperness. But lots of times our collections can grab a hold of us, and you know, as you get older, you know, like you said, Ryan, how, you know, when you got a kid, car repairs, you know, all of us, I've had some experiences with my pet cat. You know, she's had some doctor bills. Things add up, and lots of times too, it's nice knowing that you have this stuff around you can fall back on. Though, like Xander experienced that. You know, working in between jobs, using that as a bit of an income, and you know, it really worked out. And like I said, a lot of people that really wanted some things got some cool stuff, and you know, it's just a big circle in between gamers, and you kind of got to let things fit your lifestyle and how things are working for you at a certain age, what things are going on in your life, and you know, there's certain priorities you always need to look out for, and you know, at the end, it's always going to be out there if you want to go back and get more. And we also have other options of playing, and that's what it's all about, playing the goddamn game.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah. Damn straight.
America.
But yeah, I mean, that dude, I do have to say, I mean, even because we're gonna be getting to our games we've been playing recently pretty soon, and I could say, like, I've actually been playing more games since I've been selling my collection, you know, and I guess it is the convenience of the emulators, you know, like the Raspberry Pi. I modded my Wii U, and I have the Ouya that I still use as well, and having these like 3 mediums to play any game I want, I don't know, it's kind of overwhelming at some parts, and I think you guys can agree, because, you know, all of us are Pi owners now. I'm pretty sure you guys sometimes go through the games like changing channels on a TV. You'll play like 5 minutes of this game, then you go and play 5 minutes of this game. Yep. It's a little overwhelming, but the convenience is so rewarding in the sense that you're like, yeah, I want to play Sega Genesis. You don't have to worry about hooking up your Sega Genesis. You don't have to worry about
and you know when you find a special game in between all those that you never got to play. You know, I had one on my emulators, Dragon View. It was a sequel to damn it, I can't think of the name. Some crappy early RPG on the Super NES, but it was a sequel to that. Draken, yes, that's it. It was a sequel to Draken I never knew about, and I found it in my emulators. And,
Ryan's like, I love that game.
It's so brutal. It was so early, but man, God, Dragon View, it was amazing. You know, it was kind of like a Zelda 2. It took in the 3D overworld of Draken, but any of your fights and battles was total 2D. And I mean, I really fell in love with that game. It was one of my favorites that I found. But it's nice to have that luxury. You know, it's like you said, flipping channels. But then once in a while, you find that, you know, show or movie that you end up watching for a bit, and it becomes one of your favorites.
Exactly. Now we're gonna get into games we've been playing recently, and I'm gonna pass it over to you, Ryan. What have you been playing lately?
Well, you guys are gonna be ashamed of me, but I come to my buddy's house. I'm here now. And we usually just sit around and play Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. No.
But we do agree that it's awful. It's pretty awful, but we'll sit here and play it for hours and just not care. Like, I'm not trying to be some elite Call of Duty player, because I'm not. But it's simple, stupid fun. And sometimes you just got to shoot some dudes after a hard week at work.
I think also it probably are you guys like doing like couch co-op, or are you guys doing like death matches and online or something?
He's sitting like 4 inches away from me. I know that sounds uncomfortable, but it's right here next to me, and that's really the only way to do it. The connected with everyone on the internet thing, I think, disconnects people more. You know, the couch co-op experience is something you just can't replicate online.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is two different mediums, and I mean honestly, playing Call of Duty like couch co-op that sounds fun. That's like people did that with GoldenEye and Halo. It's like yeah, Call of Duty gets a lot of hate, and some of the games aren't that great. I really hope this next Call of Duty, this whole like World War II one they're coming out with, I hope it is good. Because a couple of years ago, I think we can all agree, in the early or like mid 2000s, like 2008, 2009, Call of Duty was the shit, man. That was a lot of fun. Modern Warfare 2 and original Black Ops, like that was good stuff. I enjoyed
loved it. There wasn't like all this jumping like you're on the moon crap and sliding and laser guns and yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, so I hope they bring that. I hope they bring that back. Now, what about you, James? You got some stuff you've been playing.
Got a couple things. I will mention the awesome mess up order that I got. Like I mentioned, I'd gotten Xander's Neo Geo Pocket Color, and I'd got a few games with it, but I was wanting to go ahead and get a couple more. So I found a couple of those 4-pack blister packs they used to sell. I remember at Rhino Games around here when they had kind of re-released the Pocket Color in like the mid 2000s, I think. So I ordered a couple. You can get them brand new, $25. And one of the packs I'd gotten, it had. I noticed when I opened it, the blister pack was open, and the games are brand new, still in little plastic cases. But they gave me 5 games instead of 4. So I started looking at them, and a couple ones were the wrong ones. I was planning on, out of the 8 games in the blister packs, I was going to get 5 new ones with 3 duplicates. And I ended up getting a couple extra duplicates, but they managed to give me the SNK Match of the Millennium title.
Oh,
which,
wow.
This is a $50 game. I got in $30 pack. I don't know who messed this up or what exactly happened, but I couldn't even be mad because this was a game I was planning on never owning because I was like, I'm not paying that much. You can easily emulate Neo Geo Pocket Color games. I still love playing all the handheld games on a handheld. That's just how I like to do it. But I managed to get this game, and man, it really was amazing. I mean, I can kind of see why it goes for a higher price. Those guys really nailed down awesome fighters like Samurai Showdown in the SNK versus Capcom. Somehow they managed to make those games good on a 2-button handheld. So it really was amazing to get to play that. And then speaking of fighting games, I picked up Injustice 2. I had never played the first one. I was just kind of like, well, I'm not too into comics. I was like, it's like Mortal Kombat, but they don't kill each other. I'm like, I don't want to play that. So I skipped it. But somehow I just managed, like, I want a new game. I went and picked this up and been having a complete blast. I actually want to go back and play the first one now. Really great story, which sometimes fighting games can kind of lack sometimes. Sometimes people don't play them for the story. But, definitely has that Mortal Kombat feel. A lot of people I know have played this one. I'm new to it, but everybody's kind of similar, which I like. So if you can use one person, you can play with almost everybody. Kind of like Mortal Kombat, the story mode makes you play with many different people. So you can find the guy that you really like. And, like, I fell in love with Green Arrow. Like, I actually got to where I think I'm, like, pretty decent with him. Super moves are just, really crazy. You don't kill anybody, but you still beat the complete crap out of people. And it's really fun. I got to say, I think it's become one of my favorite fighting games and one of the ones I've had the most fun with in years. And I'm looking forward to Tekken 7, which is coming out June 2nd. I have that pre-ordered, so I'm going to see how it holds up. But right now, Injustice 2 is just, I know it's my favorite game. And Sub-Zero is going to be some DLC coming up, which I'm pretty psyched about because he's my favorite Mortal Kombat character. Also, today, Friday the 13th, the game came out. And there's been a lot of mixed reviews on it. As of right now, it is online only. There will be a single player mode as DLC this summer sometime. It took me forever to get on. And I will say, too, it's a $40 game. That made it way more appealing. I would not have bought it at $60. But when I finally got on, They had a lot of server crashes, too many people playing, just lots of problems that you shouldn't be having day one, especially when it's online only. But I guess they get things worked out a little bit more. But I sat down and played it. There's usually 6 counselors and 1 person gets to be Jason. You can set up private rooms or go into just random games with groups of people, and there's really only a 12% chance of you being Jason. And I haven't got to be him yet, but actually playing as the counselor, it's been kind of fun. It's a lot like a hide and seek. There's different ways to escape: car, boat. You can call the police. You got to find certain items like gas, keys. Fix the engine. Even the Tommy Jarvis character, started by Corey Feldman, he makes an appearance as an adult. You can go to his house, and one of the dead players, when you die, will come back as Tommy Jarvis. You get to play again. And when you do die, you can use the camera, which I kind of enjoy. You can just watch what's going on, watch the other people get killed. There hasn't been really many super cool Jason kills yet, because I think you got to play for a while and unlock a lot of those. So I imagine as it goes on, maybe it'll get a little bit better. With the way it is, I don't really know how much or how long the fun will last. But as of right now, like I said, it's a bit of a cheaper game, and I've actually really enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I don't know if it's because I wasn't expecting very much. But all in all, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, it's got a original music by the original composer, Kane Hodder, did a lot of the motion capture. There's some reasons to still check it out. Lots of different Jason skins. It's a pretty fun game. And I will mention, too, a really awesome movie I watched. If y'all remember the VHS board games that came out in the 80s, Ryan, I'm sure you remember those because you're around my age. There's a movie called Beyond the Gates. It's on Netflix, and it's about these 2 brothers kind of drifted apart, but they come together because their father passed away. He owned a video store. So they're cleaning it out, and they find this videotape in this game. And then, of course, bad stuff happens. People get sucked into other realms, and they have to beat the game. It really blew me away. Awesome movie. It's only about 80 minutes, which is pretty short. It doesn't drag. It seems like it's longer than that in a good way. But if you're a fan of those kind of throwbacks to certain things, people that like Stranger Things and that kind of vibe in it, Beyond the Gates, it's really awesome. And I also had a new soda. We mentioned before, we talked about the Pepsi, I think 1893. I had the citrus cola, which kind of tastes like...
I thought you were going to mention the Pepsi Fire, and I was like, I am so sorry.
Dude, I was going to... I found the Pepsi Fire, but all they had was a 12-pack, and when I saw it was like cinnamon, I was like, man, I don't really want that. If it was hot, I might would have got it, and I'll try like a 20-ounce bottle when I see one. But no, the 1893, you got the ginger cola, your classic cola, and they just brought out black currant, which I guess currants are kind of like raisins, but maybe not as gross. But that one's kind of mediocre. The citrus, though, it's a grapefruit flavor, and I'm not big on grapefruit, but if you like Fresca, you ever had the Fresca soda?
Fresca.
Fresca. It's like Fresca mixed with a cola. It's in an orange can, so you think it'll be orange flavored. When you drink it, it's kind of off-putting, but that one's become one of my favorites right there. But yeah, they got some crazy what is it, Mountain Dew SA?
Yeah, which is
3 flavors of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, which that's actually not too bad, and it's weird that you can actually taste every individual Mountain Dew. You drink it, and you're like, oh, here comes the Code Red. Oh, there goes Livewire. Happens.
I thought it tasted kind of like a melted bomb pop.
Yeah, it does. It does have that
I love bomb pops.
It does have that melted popsicle taste to it. But no, I thought you were gonna say you got the Pepsi Fire, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, because I got a 20 ounce of it, and I was like, I like cinnamon, I love Fireball. I'm like, if it tastes like Fireball and Pepsi, hey, that's pretty cool, dude. It tasted horrid. I still actually had the bottle in my room, and I only took I still almost have like a full bottle left, and I haven't thrown it away. I got it like 2 days ago, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's like seriously, like the aftertaste. It tastes like you know when you take cough syrup and you have that like little feeling in the back of your tongue, that like that thick saliva feeling. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It does that. That the Pepsi does that, and it's just I don't know, man. I was like, man, this doesn't taste like something I should be drinking. It tastes like some sort of like battery cleaner or something, you know, like something to clean rust off, you know, metal. It's not good. So yeah,
it's actually old Aftershock and gasoline.
God,
That's
see,
the fact.
That wouldn't
I was gonna
surprise
mention
me.
Aftershock. I thought you would bring that up, you know, because people our age, we had Aftershock back then.
We're old.
The one Pepsi I do miss, is the Pepsi Twist, the lemon Pepsi. I do miss that, and once in a while,
lemon was a bit of a fad for a bit with Coke had it too.
Yeah, because I mean, and you can still go to some places that like, especially places that have like those fancy Coke machines, that like the fountain machines that you select what flavor you want. You're like, I want vanilla and lime. You can get like lime and you can get lemon and stuff, and I always get lemon and vanilla because it's awesome. But no, like that was a horrible soda. I do like the ginger Pepsi. That's really good. I want to try that current one that you're talking about. I want to try that.
The current one is interesting, dude. Like I said, the can colors can throw you off because the one's blue, so you're thinking more like blueberry, and the citrus one is orange, so you're thinking more orange, but it's like grapefruit. Current. I don't know if you like raisins, but it is a light flavor, and it's kind of. I had one friend. He's like, "Does it taste like Dr. Pepper?" And I'm like, "No, I guess more like prunes." This one's more like raisiny, Dr. Pepper's good, though, and I don't eat prunes.
You're like, does it taste like hot dogs or pizza?
Like geriatric Dr. Pepper.
But games I've been playing, I'll go ahead and mention it because it just came out today, Street Fighter 2, the final challengers on the Nintendo Switch. I got that, and, I mean, I feel like I'm going back through Street Fighter 5. Because when Street Fighter V came out, you had people that were like, hell yeah, a new Street Fighter, I can't wait to play this. And you had the other people that are just like, I can't believe you're buying this game. This game is horrible. There's no arcade mode and blah, blah, blah. Well, in this one, there is an arcade mode, but Street Fighter, the final challengers, it pretty much plays, or it looks a lot like the HD remix that came out back in 2008, and that was like a $15 download, and this is a $40 physical copy. So a lot of people, I'm like, yeah, I bought Street Fighter 2 for the Switch, and like, I can't believe you bought that game. That game's $40. It came out almost 30 years ago. What's wrong with you? But honestly, I enjoy it, and the reason why I enjoy it is because, one, I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. I love Street Fighter. It's my favorite arcade. Like, if I go to an arcade, I think I've even mentioned this on the show, that if I go to an arcade and they don't have a Street Fighter 2 cabinet or a Donkey Kong cabinet, it's not an arcade to me. I just, turn around and walk out. I just spit on my head. But no, I love Street Fighter. So, I got this because I'm like, you know what? I already have plenty copies of Street Fighter 2, but this is something that I can play on the go. I can play at my house. I can, play with somebody else, like this morning, before I picked up the game, I was hanging out with a friend of mine. He, called me. He's like, hey, you want to go get some food? I'm like, yeah, I just got to go by the mall and pick up Street Fighter 2. So I went to the mall. I picked up Street Fighter 2. I brought my Switch with me. I had my Pro Controller. I had my Joy-Con and Joy Grip, just because I knew, him and I would play, Mario Kart a little bit afterwards. So I brought that, and I had it. Yeah, I had tablets sitting on the table at the food court in the mall, and I'm just sitting there in the food court with this, looking down at this nice sized tablet, playing with my Pro Controller, playing Street Fighter 2, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is what I like to do. And then the only bummer is online's not active yet. It's not gonna be active until I believe the 28th. So about 2 days I'll have the online. But once the online's up, it's I can go to the mall, shop. And then, when I want to take a smoke break, boom, I can, sit down and play Street Fighter 2 online with anybody, Or if someone is hanging out with me and I have my Switch, hey, let's play some Street Fighter. I can, pull out the two Joy-Cons, split them in half, and play that, You know, it's all these options, and to me personally, that's worth buying. Now, did I pay the whole $40? No, I didn't pay $40 for it because I traded in games. Because I think a lot of people forget that if a game's too much, you don't necessarily have to use money to get it. You can trade in your games, you can sell things and put it towards it. And that's what I did. I went out to the pawn shop, I found some 360 games, Grand Theft Auto 4, and I had a copy of Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PS4. I don't play them. I went ahead and I traded in 2 copies, or I traded in a copy of Grand Theft Auto 4 and traded in my Grand Theft Auto 5, and I had enough that I was able to just pay off the pre-order for Street Fighter 2 on the Switch. And I'm like, you know what? And maybe that's why I'm so biased, because I didn't spend $40 on it. But I've been playing that, been really enjoying it. Been playing Final Fantasy 15, really enjoying that. The story to Final Fantasy 15 is just really, really remarkable. I love the bromance in this game. They actually, they actually make me think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what I like about it, because you got Nock, who's like the person you play as. He's like Leonardo, but he's not as powerful with his leadership skills as Leonardo is. He depends a little bit more on the other guys. And you have the other guy, I call him Iggy, that's what they call him. He's like the chauffeur, and he also cooks for Nock, and he's their friend. He's like the Donatello, because he's really smart. Then you have like the bodyguard, I call him Big G, because I can't remember his name. It starts with a G, I just call him Big G, because he's a big guy. And he's like the Raphael, and then you have Proto, who is like the Michelangelo. Like, he's always cracking jokes and taking pictures, and just, he's the comic relief. And there's parts where you'll be like running around the game and they have conversations, and I'm like, dude, this is totally like a Ninja Turtles RPG. This is awesome. Been playing that, having a lot of fun with that. Another game I do want to recommend is Rapid, I believe it's called Rapid Fire or Rapid Reload. It's known in Japan as Gunner's Heaven, and it's a treasure game, but it's pretty much a spiritual successor to Gunstar Heroes that was released on the PlayStation 1. And I've been playing that, and it plays fantastic because it's a 2D game, and 2D games age really well. This game just looks amazing. It's a lot easier than Gunstar Heroes. It's not as challenging, but it's a lot of fun. But I think that's about it. I think that's about all I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter 2, and anyone who's listening, I mean, love it or hate it, Street Fighter 2 is classic. You know, if you have ways of getting it on the Switch, I do recommend it. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Now, Ryan, before we close the show, because you mentioned earlier about having a YouTube channel. I know you haven't really been doing too much with the channel, but I know we've been talking about doing like a little reboot. You and I still need to make that freaking Final Fantasy Tactics video.
You do.
But where can people find you on YouTube?
Search for 16 Bitalica. That's 16 Bitalica. And we're the only 16 Bitalica on YouTube, so
that's a pretty unique screen name.
That's something I came up with a long time ago, and then just kind of stuck with it. And they're like, "Oh, let's do this whole YouTube thing."
Hell yeah. And I'll have a link on the description of this episode. And remember, guys, if you're listening to us on iTunes, be sure to leave us a review, rate our show. It helps boost our show, and it makes more listeners find us. They're like, oh man, this new show I didn't see last week. It showed up on my iPod settings, and it's because you guys gave us a nice review, and Apple was like, hey, let's boost these guys up a little bit. So be sure to do that on iTunes. If you're not listening to us on iTunes, you're listening to us on Podomatic, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode's coming up. And last but not least, youtube.com/Xander Skullion is my YouTube channel, but I also upload the podcast on here as well. And I got a couple of new ideas for the YouTube channel. A new series I've been doing is called Games You Should Check Out, where I recommend about 3 or 4 games, and then I have a segment called 1 Minute Crunch, where viewers send in a recommendation of a game that people should check out, but the thing is they have to talk about this game in under a minute. You have 1 minute to describe this game and why people should play it, and it's been a lot of fun. I got a couple of people that that submitted some videos for that, so I'm going to be doing a couple episodes on that, and also working on a parody video called The ROM Runner. What this is kind of a parody with game hunting, because I was like, man, I'm not going to make pickup videos that much anymore, because I don't really, buy a whole lot of retro stuff and go out to flea markets anymore. I was like, but, I'm going to make this little parody video of, like, it's going to be like game hunting, but it's going to be, like, just me downloading ROMs, and, like, it's going to have that, reality show kind of feel, being like, oh, I'm off today, I just woke up, and what better thing to do than to get some video games, and it shows me, like, sitting at the computer downloading games, and I have my own trials and tribulations, Kevin Savage is going to be coming in. He's the master elitist, and he cannot understand why I'm playing games on emulators and ROMs when I could be playing on the OG hardware. He's going to be making an appearance. Also, just little stuff like the fact that, hey, I want to download a Wii game, but it's sucking up bandwidth, and it's going to shut off Netflix, and my nephew's not going to be able to watch Bubble Guppies. That's going to be a real problem. So, there's going to be stuff like that in this episode. So keep your eyes peeled on that, guys. Again, that's youtube.com/Xander Skullion. And I do want to thank Ryan, man. Thank you very much for being on the show. And
thank you,
man. By the time we get ready to do our next show, it's going to be like E3. It's hard to believe that E3 is right around the corner. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about either our predictions of E3, what we're looking forward to, or we're going to be doing a review of E3 and see how that goes. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.